Hey everybody, welcome to the New Deal New Minute for October 16th, 2020. First things first, I voted today in the Rhode Island presidential election. I feel really good about it. I've never been so excited to vote. It was amazing. I feel so relieved having done it. So early voting going on right now in Rhode Island. Check out the local election board to see where you can vote in Rhode Island. And I know that there's early voting around the country. So if you can, go vote. But what I really want to talk about today is last night's dueling town halls between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Biden was on ABC at 8 o'clock. Trump was on NBC at 8 o'clock. And the reason that happened was because Trump contracted COVID, and then the debate commission wanted to do a virtual debate, and Trump said he didn't want to do it. So Joe Biden scheduled the town hall for last night. And then 2 days ago, Trump decided, well, he wanted a town hall too. So now he has a town hall. So we had two town halls last night. So last night, I primarily watched Joe Biden. I thought he was the sharpest he's ever been. He was great with the voters. It looked like he really wanted to answer their question. He took time to go over policy. He answered George Stephanopoulos' questions. It was really good. I thought it was really good. And I switched over to Trump a few times, and it seemed chaotic and it seemed contentious. But I was just tuning in kind of randomly and then going back to Biden, so I didn't really get the full breadth of the experience. And then today, I watched the entirety of the Trump debate. And what surprised me was that the news that I saw coming out was that people were upset about the moderation in the Biden town hall, saying that, Stephanopoulos, compared to Savannah Guthrie on NBC, did not challenge Biden nearly enough. And I took a lot of issue with that. First of all, you have Donald Trump, who's an aggressive person. We saw in the debate a couple of weeks ago, he's willing to talk over you. He's willing to interrupt you. So we have Savannah Guthrie, who is talking to our president, who has a lot to defend and a lot of weird conspiracy theory things that she called him on that, she wanted to discuss. And he did the same to her that he did to Joe Biden. He'd cut her off. He'd interrupt. And while there was some information there, when you are dealing with a contentious person, the environment is going to seem naturally more contentious. So he was challenged, I wrote down here, I took some notes. He could not specify the last time he tested tested negative for COVID prior to the debate. He was upset that Biden was not questioned on Antifa. He could not defend his tweeting out the fake death of Osama bin Laden. His defense was that it was a retweet. He praised getting rid of the individual mandate for Obamacare and said that because it was gone, it's not Obamacare anymore, which I thought was really weird. They took the mandate, so now it's Obamacare, but they want to repeal whatever. He would not disclose who he owed money to. He would not answer questions as to his reversal on the SCOTUS nomination, because in 2015, he said that they should hold off on confirming Merrick Garland, and in 2020, he said push her through. So he was challenged on a lot because he wasn't giving a lot of answers. Conversely, Joe Biden is not perfect, but if you watch the whole Joe Biden town hall, start to finish, a lot of people said he wasn't challenged. Joe Biden was challenged last night. So the way it was set up was similar to Trump in that, but George Stephanopoulos did not ask as many questions of Biden as Savannah Guthrie did, because in the Biden debate, it was voters almost primarily asking him questions. But what George Stephanopoulos would do would be when Biden started moving away from the question, he would bring Biden back to the question. And he would press him on things he said in the past. He was pressed on the 1994 crime bill. A lot of people have been critical of Biden for his signing of the crime bill. And Biden, when challenged, said, it was a mistake to vote that way. It was a mistake to pass it, and here's why. And he elaborated. He was challenged on fracking. He said he, is not going to ban fracking, which a lot of people on the left don't agree with that opinion. And Stephanopoulos said, well, though, a lot of people who are in the fracking industry don't believe you. And Biden was forced to answer. He was forced to answer on healthcare and, whether or not, how is Biden care, I guess, different than Medicare for all. He was pressed on the New Deal. George Stephanopoulos said, well, those ideas, do you support the Green New Deal? And, how is it different? And he was really pressed on those distinctions. The difference is A voter would ask Biden a question. Biden would begin providing an answer. George Stephanopoulos would politely butt into the conversation, and Joe Biden would stop talking and face Stephanopoulos, and Stephanopoulos would ask the entire question, and then Biden would respond. It's the same thing. You still have a moderator challenging a candidate on their policies. What's different is how. How is the candidate responding to those interruptions? How is the moderator, able to jump in? If Donald Trump were someone that Savannah Guthrie could just stop really easily and just say, well, wait a second, but she couldn't because he keeps on talking. So what you had two moderators who were doing a very good job, I thought, of challenging each candidate on their records and on their policy and on things that they've said on the campaign trail. But it looks so different because of who the candidates are. Joe Biden is a quiet, more reserved person who will speak at length on policy. And if you ask him a question, he will do his best to answer it. Donald Trump kind of moves all over the place. And if he doesn't like a question, he doesn't really answer it. And all politicians deflect to some extent, but Trump is a master at it. And so when you put them side by side, oh yeah, it looks like Savannah Guthrie is hammering Donald Trump. But if you listen to the content, if you listen to what's actually happening, they were both challenged equally. They were both challenged on points where they should have been challenged. Last night, as a Biden supporter, George Stephanopoulos asked some questions that I was like, ooh, maybe I don't want to hear this answer, because the challenges were good challenges. He challenged Biden so hard on whether or not Biden supported court packing that he got Biden to commit to releasing a stance on court packing prior to the election, because Biden said, oh, we'll wait and see what happens. So the challenge was there. And this is, I think, what we really need to do as voters in America and as people who pay attention to politics. You cannot just look at the surface level, because there's a lot more going on. So I think first, to be critical of either debate, you need to have watched both. And you need to evaluate the content from both. And from there, you can be critical. But to watch one and say, well, the tenor of the debate, the atmosphere of the debate is so different, Trump must have been hammered, is incorrect. That is not the case. So please, if you haven't watched one or the other, go check it out and then make a decision. Make a determination. But in my determination, the moderators were both fantastic. And you might expect me to say that, but I really believe that. And what really hit me in the chest was Joe Biden stayed after for 30, 35 minutes answering questions that people didn't get to during the televised portion. And he looked super happy, and the people he was talking to were smiling. It looked presidential. But it also looked extremely friendly and really comfortable. So I was glad to see that as a Biden supporter. But that is my take on yesterday's town halls. If you disagree with me, agree with me. If you're looking forward to the presidential debate next week, that will likely happen. Let me know how you feel about that. Drop it in the comments. And please subscribe on YouTube, help the channel out, go over to Facebook, like the page there. And of course, go to thenewdeal.com, check out the New Deal podcast on your podcast provider of choice. And I will talk to you guys over the weekend. Have a good one.